Committee study of the Central Intelligence Agency's Detention and Interrogation Program is a report compiled by the bipartisan United States Senate Select Committee on Intelligence about the Central Intelligence Agency's Detention and Interrogation Program and its use of torture during interrogation in U.S. government bulletins on detainees in CIA custody. The more than 6,700-page report, including 38,000 footnotes, details the history of the CIA's Detention and Interrogation Program and the committee's 20 findings and conclusions. On December 9, 2014, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence released a 525-page portion that consisted of key findings and an executive summary of the full report. It took more than 5 years to complete. The full unredacted report remains classified. Today's summary: CIA headquarters sends Untrained Interrogator to resume Al-Nashiri's interrogations. After the detention site Blue chief of base sent 2 interrogators back to the United States because of prolonged absences from family and the fact that enhanced measures are no longer required for Al-Nashiri, CIA headquarters sent, redacted, CIA Officer 2, a CIA officer who had not been trained or qualified as an interrogator, to detention site Blue to question and assess Al-Nashiri. In late December 2002, following a meeting at CIA headquarters to discuss resuming the use of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques against Al-Nashiri, the chief of RDG, the entity that managed the CIA's Detention and Interrogation Program, objected to sending redacted CIA Officer 2 to the detention site because he had not been through the interrogation training and because, redacted, had heard from some colleagues that CIA Officer 2 was too competent and had a temper and had some security issues. Redacted later learned from other CIA officials that CTC Chief of Operations, redacted, wanted CIA Officer 2 at detention site Blue over the holidays. Redacted told the Office of Inspector General that his assessment is that the agency management felt that the RDG interrogators were being too lenient with Al-Nashiri and that CIA Officer 2 was sent to detention site Blue to fix the situation. CIA Officer 2 arrived at detention site Blue on December, redacted, 2002, and the CIA resumed the use of its enhanced interrogation techniques on Al-Nashiri shortly thereafter, despite the fact that CIA Officer 2 had not been trained, certified, or approved to use the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques. CIA Officer 2 wrote in a cable to CIA headquarters that Al-Nashiri responds well to harsh treatment and suggested that the interrogations continued to administer various degrees of mild punishment, but still allow for a small degree of hope by introducing some minute rewards. It was later learned that during these interrogation sessions, CIA Officer 2, with the permission and participation of the detention site Blue chief of base, who also had not been trained and qualified as an interrogator, used a series of unauthorized interrogation techniques against Al-Nashiri. For example, CIA Officer 2 placed Al-Nashiri in a standing stressed position, with his hands affixed over his head for approximately 2.5 days. Later, during the course of Al-Nashiri's debriefings, while he was blindfolded, CIA Officer 2 placed a pistol near Al-Nashiri's head and operated a cordless drill near Al-Nashiri's body. Al-Nashiri did not provide any additional threat information during or after these interrogations. Based on a report from CTC, the CIA Office of Inspector General conducted a review of these interrogation incidents and issued a report of investigation in the fall of 2003. The Office of Inspector General later described additional allegations of unauthorized techniques used against Al-Nashiri by CIA Officer 2 and other interrogators, including slapping Al-Nashiri multiple times on the back of the head during interrogations, implying that his mother would be brought before him and sexually abused, blowing cigar smoke in Al-Nashiri's face, giving Al-Nashiri a forced bath using a stiff brush, and using improvised stress positions that caused cuts and bruises, resulting in the intervention of a medical officer who was concerned that Al-Nashiri's shoulders would be dislocated using the stress positions. When interviewed by the Office of Inspector General, the detention site Blue chief of base stated he did not object to using the gun and drill in the interrogations because he believed CIA Officer 2 was sent from CIA headquarters to resolve the matter of Al-Nashiri's cooperation, and that he believed CIA Officer 2 had permission to use the interrogation techniques. The chief of base added that his own on-site approval was based on this and the pressure he felt from headquarters to obtain imminent threat information from Al-Nashiri on 9/11 style attacks. In April 2004, CIA Officer 2 and the chief of base were disciplined.
Nashiri, dressed in a white prison uniform, appeared confident as he strolled into the court and waved to spectators. He smiled as Army Colonel James Pohl, the military judge, spoke to him through an Arabic translator. Nashiri was arraigned on charges including murder, terrorism, and conspiracy in the bombing of the USS Cole in Yemen. The attack killed 17 sailors and wounded dozens more. In the courtroom, families of the victims saw Nashiri for the first time. John Clodfelter's 21-year-old son, Kenneth, was killed in the blast.
Because I wanted to be able to face him face to face, if nothing else, to let him know that, hey, you haven't gotten away with it. And as far as I'm concerned, I just soon see them give him the death penalty because I think the lives of 17 sailors are worth it.
Nashiri was captured in 2002, interrogated in secret CIA prisons overseas, then transferred to the U.S. detention center at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Station. His attorneys argue Nashiri should not be prosecuted because interrogators subjected him to mock executions and the near-drowning technique called waterboarding. The judge turned down a defense motion to force prosecutors to say that, if Nashiri is acquitted, the government is not likely to release him. Instead, the defense says Nashiri will likely remain at Guantanamo. Richard Kamen is the lead defense counsel.
I can't imagine in today's political environment or next year's political environment or the political environment in 2 or 3 years where if he's acquitted, any president would authorize his release.
Nashiri is the first detainee to face a military tribunal here since U.S. President Barack Obama ended a freeze on the proceedings earlier this year. Army Brigadier General Mark Martins, the chief prosecutor, says Wednesday's arraignment proves the system is fair.
I am confident the military commission that was convened here today to try the charges against Mr. Al-Nashiri referred to it will answer the call with fairness and with justice.
Defense attorneys say Nashiri's treatment while in U.S. custody will be a continuing issue during this trial. They predict it will take at least several years before this case is resolved. Meredith Buell, VOA News, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.